Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Kamga. If this is the first time that you'll see my face, great. If you've been seeing my face for a while, great. On this channel I do reactions like this one as well as essays and reviews, and today is different. I mean, every other day is different, but today is different because I'm taking on a subject that I'm personally not very comfortable with. You might have seen the title. It's 5 major reasons religion is the #1 cause of poverty in Africa. I don't claim to be an expert in terms of economics. I don't claim to be an expert in terms of religion, but personally, I'm in a place in my life, and I think I've been for a while, where I find it difficult to talk to people about religion because the way I want to approach the conversation is a little bit too logical for most people who are very passionate and are not willing to explain things that I am probably very ignorant about. So I just don't talk until when I find somebody who can actually talk and discuss topics and be willing to share from a place of trying to get to understanding, not forcing anybody. I don't know if you get what I mean, but anyway, I've never done this kind of reaction. I've never reacted to a topic about religion. I haven't done a reaction to something that is on TED Talks. Like, look at that. It's TEDxLusaka. So yeah, I'm going to do this reaction because I did make mention that I wanted to do a reaction on this, and I had 2 people actually more respond. I think my buddy Gino, Dr. JB responded saying they was waiting for that, as well as Rita. Rita said she would like to see this video. So this is it. We're doing the 5 major reasons religion is the #1 cause of poverty in Africa by Reverend Walter Mwambazi. And this is TEDxLusaka, 200,000+ views. This was done in October 2020. That was, last year, TEDx. So let's jump right into it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you can stick around, see if you like what you see. And if you do like it, hey, subscribe. Well, we already had 2,000+ strong family, and we're growing. And we're going to get that silver play button sooner than you think. But anyway, let me not get ahead of myself. Let's first of all start by finishing this video.
It was Karl Marx who said that religion is the opium of the poor. Religion has been historically used as a means to systematically oppress, suppress, and take control of resources by the elite from the poor. And please don't confuse it with spirituality.
Ooh, that hit hard. It's one of those things about this conversation. I mean, this is the beginning. Clearly, he has a very calm, look at, I mean, he's very chill. I think he's a little bit defensive, protective. I'm just inferring body language. I mean, you get nervous on these stages. But do not confuse religion with spirituality. And if a reverend says that, I have to listen. So I will listen.
Now, as a reverend, I'll focus on Christianity, but Islam and traditional beliefs do certainly take their own share. Here I am, a reverend, okay? And why would I speak so critically of religion? Well, let me tell you a few things about myself. First, I'm a born-again Christian. I'm spirit-filled, I'm tongue-speaking, I'm charismatic, evangelical.
Okay.
So that gives you an idea of where I stand. 23 years been saved. 17 of those years, a minister of the gospel. Sat under some of the most amazing human beings, but also sat under some very interesting people. I
like how he didn't say, he said amazing human beings, but he didn't talk down on other people. He let me infer some interesting people and then smiled. And also what he did there that I think is amazing for speeches is he gave the credibility, the authority, the reason why you should listen to what he has to say. Evangelical, like, this is where I stand. I've been in this business. Well, I use the term business, but I don't mean that it's a business, even though it is a business. He has been in this sphere for a long time. So it's nice to observe speeches like this. I mean, I've never actually done a TED Talk, so my mind was already going to how to applied this to speeches in real world, and how he told his story by providing, first of all, his background, his own credibility that allows you to be like, okay, I will listen to you because clearly you know what you're talking about. So let's see how it continues from there.
Learn something interesting, people. I learned something very interesting in that period. I learned that a number of people within religious institutions aren't really about shepherding, grounding, discipling, and releasing, but more about manipulation, control, and selfish gain. But
I feel like this is like in everything in life. Maybe it's much more prominent in politics because people have to play weird games, and that's is now the nature of the beast. Like, you cannot be a politician who is honest, for example. But it feels like it cuts across the board. But then I guess it's probably worse in a space where you're supposed to be a leader and a shepherd like Christ, and you're not. So I guess it's much more prominent there when people don't act in a way that is beneficial for more people. So it's easy for that to stand out, I think. Yeah.
And selfish gain. But I think the biggest lesson that I learned is just how religion, and I really use that word, religion, shackles people to personalities and institutions. I learned a very bitter truth, and here's that truth. Religion is the #1 tool for mind control from the elite for the ordinary.
How?
Now, there are five distinct ways that this happens. Now, before I do so, I have to give some credit to something. Most people, especially for me as a Christian, know Jesus Christ. That's who we follow. What is amazing is that Jesus Christ was perhaps one of the most anti-religious people I ever came across. In fact, Jesus, throughout his life on earth, preached the kingdom, not institutions. He was so anti-religious that in Matthew chapter 23 in the Bible, you get an entire scathing attack against the religious leaders of the day. So scathing that it literally sealed his fate, death by crucifixion. So, let's ask ourselves this question. Exactly how has the ruling class used religion to oppress and suppress? So let's walk you through 5.
You know, there should be a term for this in speeches, because he made a statement that the ruling class is using religion to oppress and suppress the poor and control them. And then now he's moving to, okay, let's discuss now how they are doing it. He hasn't exactly established if they are doing it. He just said that they are doing it, and then went to talking about Christ in the Bible, and then now he's going to explain how they are doing it. So, I mean, I don't want to analyze the speech. I'm more here for the substance, but I just feel like there's a lapse in logic there for somebody like me who likes things to move in a smooth transition. I feel like I would have loved to see this statistics, the facts, the data. But now, if you're watching my reactions, you know, this is like something that I do. I feel like I like numbers. I like to see them. I don't like to calculate them, but I like to see them. It helps me just believe the person who is speaking. So let's carry on though.
Key ways that I've learned, press. So let's walk you through 5 key ways that I've learned. The first one is that they've used it as a means of control. Okay, so religion has been used throughout history to ensure that the elite can take control of the simple. And they've done this in 3 very specific ways. The first is to push the concept of martyrdom. What's that? That's basically the idea that you go out there and you do all you can, including dying, if possible, for the purposes of your religious agenda. What's so interesting is that this is done for leaders. But the saddest part, though, is that some people are so fervent about this that they go as far as blowing up people, as we know very well, through the antics of Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab.
Look at that. When you watch TED Talks, you see like room filled with people. This was done it's 2020. Maybe there was COVID. Yeah, social distancing. I think that's what was happening, because I was just feeling like, why is the room so empty? But yeah. And what he just said about the martyrdom, I saw a tweet a couple of days ago. Somebody asked the question, like, why does it feel like Christianity glorifies suffering? And I don't know how the conversation went down, but somebody actually came and said something like, yeah, it's part of the journey. It's like, it's intertwined. You have to suffer to be a Christian, something like that. So what he's talking about martyrdom here, like dying for these people and, blowing up and getting people like, yeah, that's interesting.
The second method is the suffering model. Okay.
This is what we're talking about.
In the sky, life will be good for you when you get in the kingdom of the hereafter. So suffer, suffer, suffer. The more you suffer, the holier you are. The irony, as always, is that it's the disciples that suffer.
Yeah. Yeah.
The third one is that money is evil.
I could probably go at length to talk about this particular subject, I am not an expert in money, but I know that we all have our money stories, and depending on where you're coming from, you will look at money as a source of problems, source of evil, whereas money is just a tool, like a knife. You can either use it to put butter in your bread or hurt someone, but people look at money itself as a problem. It's like saying that cars are a problem instead of realizing that drivers are the ones, what you do with the money, what you do with the car decides how far things go. But yeah.
And there's two really badly misquoted scriptures.
Money is the root of all evil.
Used
probably one of them.
Exacerbate this. The first one, and you all know it.
Uh-huh.
It is easier for a camel
to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the doors of heaven.
The kingdom of God. And the second one, just as badly misquoted, the love of
money is the root of all evil.
The root of all evil. Ladies and gentlemen, those two statements have done more harm towards wealth creation and the concept of wealth in Africa. Global Finance Magazine 2020 figures. Of the 20th poorest countries in the world, 16 are in Africa.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I just cannot believe 16 of the 20th poorest countries. That is way more than 80%. Jesus Christ. 16. Jesus Christ.
16 are in Africa. 16. Just think about that. Wow. Ask any African. We pray the most. We fast the most. We're the most fervent religious people I know.
Churchgoers.
And yet, all the poverty. So,
even if you're not a Christian, in fact, this is one of those statements that if somebody makes this statement and then your mind goes to, oh, this is blasphemous, or you don't think, I think there's a difference between, what am I even trying to say? It's just the idea that most of the time when I find people that actually want to talk to people who, they're very religious, and I mean this in a good way, like they love the church, they read their Bibles, they talk about the scripture, and I want to have conversations with them that involve logic. It almost ends up being like, it almost ends up being emotional. Because just look at this. What he just said right now, we fast the most, sometimes not by choice because there's no food. We pay our tithes. We go to church every Sunday. There are more churches, probably as equally, if not more than bars. We have pastors, so why is that not correlating? So it means that so all that suffering is basically a justification for going to heaven, right? That's what it means. Anyway.
So does that mean prayer doesn't work? Of course it does. All I need to do is just point you to countries that are religious but very rich. The USA, Israel, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain. So if they are
I don't know how I feel about the USA being very religious, but the truth is that yes, you have many. There are two political parties, and I think some parties are predominantly of a specific religion, probably Christian. But yeah, people go to church here. I go to church here, and yeah, but I don't know.
there are countries that are rich, yet there are people that are poor like us. Something's wrong. Anyway, let's get back to our list, shall we? At number 4, or is it number 2? Let's go with number 2 because that was number 1. So number 2 is the justification of kingdoms and empires. There's a reason, ladies and gentlemen, why in chess you have castles, you have king, queen, and a bishop and a knight. You see, there is no greater person that can justify political control than a religious person. And so
I never thought about that. I love chess. I'm not an expert, but I do play. And by the way, I play on Twitch on Fridays and Saturdays with my buddies Mark and Nodita. So yeah, come along sometime and catch us play Rogue Company or maybe chess. Just side announcement. Never thought about that. It's a bishop on the chessboard. Wow.
So throughout history, control than a religious person. And so throughout history, religion has justified the elite. They call them the noble. They call them the blue blood. And if you bring it close to home, they're called the anointed. Third is slavery. And it's one of the darkest chapters in the history of mankind. For a period, a group of people came, forced religious Christianity on another group, and then captured and enslaved them, shipped them across the Atlantic.
Worked them to death.
Slaves. And to justify all this, they say the Bible justifies this.
Yeah.
Slaves. In fact, black people are inferior and white people are superior. And it took centuries before abolitionists and human rights activists came round.
And it's not even done. This is 2021 and it's not even done, even with the Black Lives Matter movement, which has become its own religion in its own way and other things. Like, it's not done.
To fight this revulsive behavior. But that's not before the toll had been done.
Yeah.
And here's the big deal. This whole entire scene of slavery set the tone for the fourth factor, colonialism. I'll be honest with every one of us here. Colonialism was the back end of Christianity. See, when the missionaries were sent over, those that sent the missionaries had an agenda. They called it the 3 C's. Civilize, Christianize,
Colonize,
commercialize.
commercialize.
So, they came over. But here's something very interesting. As they began to do their work, they brought a very powerful meme. An image of a white Jesus.
Yeah.
Blonde hair, blue eyes. Guy looked just like the missionaries. And I'll be honest with you, it was powerful, it worked. To make matters worse, they took our names and said, these are pagan, demonic
names. Man, I would love to talk with this guy and just chat with him. He seems like a chill dude. He doesn't seem that chill. He seems like a very serious guy, actually. Just thinking of what he's saying, like English names, that's how we call our names. You have first names. Like, I go now by Kamga. I have to explain it to everybody and pronounce my name, but I barely even use my English names. What is the word? That's the way you call them, right? English names. I barely use them now. And wow, this is some powerful. It's making me think about a lot of things. And it's a little bit different from other videos. So let me know if you actually like this kind of content where it's, I find myself thinking a lot more about the impact of what he's saying and the implications of what he's talking about, because it's a lot. It's a lot to think and sit and be like, wow, this thing has been ongoing for years. And like bringing this image of Jesus and then producing this, like, this is it. So it makes you, whenever you see a white person, basically you feel like this is Jesus, and you're less likely to even reason out if what they are saying makes sense or if what they are saying is relevant to you. You just take it as, the gospel, literally.
You better get Christian names. What's
Christian
interesting,
name.
you all know, is that the Christian names were nothing but English names or
Yeah.
French names or Portuguese names. They were really not Christian. As if that wasn't enough, ethnic groups. They divided us by the color of our skin. At the top of the food chain were the whites, and then followed the Indians, and then followed the coloreds, and right at the bottom were
Black.
blacks. But you see, the worst was yet to come, which is my fifth point. White supremacy.
Okay.
You know, what is sad is that white supremacy it had its greatest advocate in religious Christianity. It was religious Christianity that pushed the concept and idea that whites are actually supreme and superior.
How so?
Truth is that religious Christianity was used as a Trojan horse to hide this very evil seed. And of course, don't forget the linguistic terms like white is good, black is bad, whitelisted, blacklisted, white market,
Black market.
throw in a good chunk of slavery, apartheid, Jim Crow laws, really justify.
Dang, this is some heavy stuff. Like, maybe I should be choosing my topics very carefully. I saw this video and I was very intrigued. And I mean, he's not saying anything that I haven't come across or that I haven't thought about, but it's more like putting it all together makes me really, really think about the structure that is religion, and then what it means, like the impact for generations on how we see money, how we see business, how we see white people, how we see ourselves, how we see the continent. There's a lot here that he's making me think about.
Justified again by the Bible. Laws really justified again by the Bible. And then this was enforced by the use of lynching, killing, disenfranchisement of black people, inferior education, inferior opportunities. And what that did was essentially kept the black people enslaved through conditioning. And bear in mind, this took centuries.
Yeah.
The seed that was further sown, which is so evil also, was the use of linguistics, language, words. I apologize in advance because this is TED, but I have to use this word. One good example of the use of words, caricature, terminologies, is the word nigger. The word nigger and all its related terms.
It's actually the first time I'm hearing somebody say this directly on a video. I don't know how you're going to feel about that. Are we going to be demonetized or something?
Was used to further enforce the idea of the inferiority of a black man. You can actually take some time and go visit the Ferry State University Jim Crow Museum of Racist Memorabilia and actually learn for yourself just how harmful it was. The irony, ladies and gentlemen, is that these very terms have become the reality today. And so therefore lies the proof in what I've just said.
There is a...
Blacks actually now believe they're so cursed and so inferior that the only way they can measure up is by looking like the very oppressor that brought them down. And skin bleaching is a good example. Another one is the use of the word muzungu or bazungu or mabwana, which you know mean white man or big boss.
What?
And those, by the way, are terms used for fellow blacks that are seen to be progressing. Let me illustrate with a real example. I have a friend of mine who got a very good contract recently, a deal where he was going to distribute a particular product across a chain. And so he put together a deal, prepared some presentation, got all his details, went and pitched. Unfortunately, in spite of meeting all the conditionalities, his deal was turned down.
Let me guess. He came back with a white friend and the deal was approved. Or some white person just showed up and was approved. Let's see how close I am to the truth.
He had some insight. So what did he do? He called his partners in South Africa, who were white, by the way, and had them come over.
I said it.
And then they pitched with him nowhere in sight. I think you know what happened. Let's just say that he has the deal now. His deal and his business is everywhere. But here's the part that's really sobering. The people he spoke to and pitched were indigenous African blacks like you and me. Today, we have seen that many Africans are now at a stage, because of all this conditioning I've said, that we're just about to exchange for another new kid on the block, the Chinese. So what are we doing? What's the solution? How do we come out of all this? Well, my solutions are not going to be fun, but this is TED, ideas worth spreading. So number one, we need to unshackle ourselves from the mental chains of religious dogma and mind control.
How?
Which is really what religion is about. Freedom of the truth must be a substitute.
How?
Further, we must stop following rules and regulations, rituals, and get to the liberty of the truth. Furthermore, we must there's so much distance in religious ceremonies and procedures, worsened by mediators with selfish motives. We need to eliminate that distance.
How?
We need to get to a place where we know the Creator in person and know the truth in Him. And when that happens, it leads to an epiphany of clarity of purpose and destiny. Listen, it's spirituality centered within. That's the key. Not religiosity centered without, around institutions and people.
You know, what he's saying makes a lot of sense when you think about, when I just think about the kind of people that I can have this kind of conversations with, the people who are comfortable where they are at in their mind and their selves, like people who are believers whose faith you cannot shake. I feel like the people who get very emotional about religion are people who doubt their own beliefs and who don't understand the basic concept of the fact that somebody else can be wrong and it's okay. Because, or they have this certain level of intellectual arrogance because they think that they know more than you. How dare you question them? And I see that with a lot of African parents, older people who cannot have a conversation with a younger sibling or even a child because you just think that a child should just listen to what you have to say, which almost translates to what he's talking about with the dogma and following the rules and just do what you're told, don't question anything, and when somebody questions anything, you crush them. And yeah, that makes sense to his idea of it coming from inside, because when you have your faith and you know your beliefs and you study your Bible and you've actually done the study to understand Christianity and you're following Christ from a place of knowing Him, not from a place of somebody telling you who He is, I think it's very different. Yeah.
But here's my big thing. We need a mindset change. And no, it's not just a phrase, because mindset change, paradigm, that's a big thing nowadays. But no. I'm talking about a serious reprogramming.
How?
Lastly, we need empowerment.
Okay.
And that empowerment comes from empowering education, something that's really about releasing people into destiny, not keeping them subservient to an institution forever and ever till kingdom come. I'm going to end with this saying that you all know. It says, give a man fish and you feed him for a day. But teach the man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. But you know something? I want us to be disruptive completely. Forget about teaching the man to fish. Here's the deal. Empower the man to own the lake. And you feed him for generations after him. Ladies and gentlemen, Africans must learn the empowering truth and will no longer be in severe bondage of religion and its impoverishing hold, but instead will see wealth for all citizens of this very rich continent. I thank you.
Nice. You know, that was a very, very chill speech. It was very calm. It wasn't very high notes and down. It was very leveled. And he said a lot of things that made a lot of sense, but I kept questioning like how. Okay, we have to be empowered. You have to give the man the lake. You have to, do the education. The question is how. Those are great ideas, wonderful ideas. I think they're powerful. But my mind is going to the tactical, the actual application, like what kind of schools you build. How do you disrupt an educational system that has been ongoing for years that people are not about to change anytime soon, right? When you say empower, what do you mean, right? How? So I do agree with the overarching message here, which is that if you look at the history of religion, the way it came on the continent, the way it was used and the way it's still used now to basically control people, we need to create a level of detachment from those fake dogmas and look at Christ himself and look at his life and see how he did things and what he believed in and what he said. Because there are people who just use that to their own advantage. I mean, I think I saw, was it a meme or a message about the pastor who was talking about how he got an airplane during COVID. And how did he get this airplane? Well, the community contributed, right? They gave tithes and that's the money that he used to get an airplane. And he was talking about abundance, like abundance, abundance preaching, abundance something, I've forgotten what it's called. Churches and pastors and people who preach about getting good things only in life. And 5 major reasons. Religion is the number one cause of poverty in Africa. He did make he raised some critical points. I did not like the way it ended with ideas that were large ideas but not practical takeaways. But then this is TED. So it's ideas worth spreading, because right now he's starting a spark and people will talk about these things. And also because he himself is a reverend, I can see how he can blend these ideas, because it was a limited stage, right? It was just a few minutes, 17 minutes and 36 seconds. You cannot come and preach on this thing for life. You have to give the things a key. And then I guess after that, the conversation continues and moves on to other things. So yeah. Overall, I think it was a great conversation starter. I love watching it. Let me see some of the comments here. Don't just teach him to fish, teach him to own the lake. Cataract is the third biggest cause of blindness. Politics and religion remain the first two. Oh, man. Yeah. So refreshing to hear Reverend speak so blatantly and honestly about religion. Yeah, I would love to hear this man talk and see how he, practices in his own church. And yeah, I mean, nice. Reverend Walter Mwambazi. That was a TED Talk, 5 major reasons religion is the number one cause of poverty in Africa. If you enjoyed watching this video and you've watched up to this particular point, you're an MVP, because my reaction videos are pretty long, and for you to stay here means that you actually care about them. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, this might be a good time to subscribe. If you are still around, like the video. If you haven't liked it, share it with somebody who might want to see 5 major reasons why religion is the number one cause of poverty. Let me know about the talk if you watch it, and of course I'll put the link in the description where you can go watch the full TED talk without my interruptions, and also it's going to be somewhere up here as well. So there's going to be a link right here with a video that YouTube is going to recommend to you based on your likes on YouTube, and there's going to be a playlist right here for the reaction videos I've been doing. In the meantime, you take care, you do your best, let God take care of the rest. While there's life, there is hope. Remember that, my friend, no matter what you're going through. All right, I will see you in the next video. Peace.